Okay. So I think we're live now.
Are we live?
I think so.
Okay.
Put the just chatting. Yep, there we go. We're live. Hello people. Welcome.
Hello.
So I'm just gonna let you guys know that I'm a little sick today. I think my coworkers got me sick at work because it's that time of the year where the flu season is coming around, so it might be a little short. But today, joining me is Hudson. He's one of the writers for Lucid9. If you'd like to introduce yourself and say a couple words.
Sure. Yeah. I was thinking we could also probably go through that as part of the story we're doing. I mean, because I joined in early 2018, and David can attest to this. I basically just sent an email right after I read it at like 1 in the morning, having just finished it. Like, I will join this project and do literally whatever. So originally I got brought on as an editor, and then eventually became a writer, and I've also been doing some of the programming as well. So yeah.
Yeah, you pretty much have your fingers in almost a lot of stuff in the development team. You've been a big help with programming because, like, I absolutely know. Well, I know some of it, but like not a whole bunch. So you've been a big help there. Also, really quick, if there's some audio issues, just let me know and I'll try to fix it. There's an echo. Yeah, hold on. Wait. Is there still an echo? Because I think it was just like when I was playing the video right now. But let me know and I'll fix that issue right now. But going on today, we're basically just going down memory road. Talking a little bit about how... Oh, only when Hudson was talking. Yeah, that's probably... I think that's your mic, Hudson. It's just...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I don't think it's an issue on my end. You sound pretty okay. Let me check the stream really quick, see how you sound.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't think it's an issue on my end. You sound pretty okay.
Just
Let me check the stream really quick, see how you sound.
Already,
Yeah. But I don't think it's an
It's
issue on
normal
my
for
end.
my side.
I think it's okay.
Okay.
I think it's alright. But yeah, today we're just going to talk a little bit about how the studio basically started, Fallen Snow Studios. It's going to take me a little bit to remember because like it's like 10 years of development. So, but I do remember the biggest parts. So let me see if I can find the place where it all started. And that is Fuwa Novel. And I don't know if you guys know Fuwa Novel, but it's kind of like a forum for visual novels. And somebody made a post there a couple of years back in 2013, 2014, and that was our not lead developer. He was like the producer kind of the studio, and he's like, "Hey, I like visual novels. Does anybody else want to create one with me?" And then people just pretty much joined on board after that. So I don't know if we're gonna find it because they did do an overhaul on the website. So it might have gotten deleted. Let me check. So the oldest date, it should be oh, it doesn't let me sort by date. That's weird. Let me go to the last one. The need for VN development group. No, that's not it. Oh, wait, I think that one's it. Yeah, I think so. Here, let me share my screen really quick so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Desktop. Window capture. If it lets me do it. There we go. So I think this is the post. Let me see. I don't know. I don't recognize his name. I recognize these people though. So this is Fu Novel. This is where it all started. And Dan made a post. I'm trying to find it. We made a couple of recruitment posts here too. Pretty sure it's... I think it got deleted. I don't think it's there anymore. But anyway, so a couple of people were brought on board to join the development team, and it was pretty much a free-for-all. Bottom of the first page, I think. You think? Nah, it's just...
Think.
Oh yeah, it is.
Bottom of that page.
I think it's this one. Let me see. First.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Well, I mean, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where it all started, right here.
Yes.
March 17th, 2014. This is Dan PC. He's still around. He talks to us a little bit sometimes, but he's not like deep into like the development stuff. But he helps, occasionally, every once in a while. So hi, I'm looking for people to join Visual Novel. Anybody that's interested in making one. And so pretty much people just started joining in here. Novel. I think they're one of the writers, the idea people. And then this person, and then this person, and it kind of went like that. And then let me see if I can find the... Okay, so this is the staff list, like the original staff list here. So we had Dan, and then pretty much anybody who wants to help here. And then there's some of the story writers was Adid, Novel, Dale, Who's, anyone else. And then we had a couple of proofreaders here. Dan actually tried doing some of the soundtrack because he's a music guy. And coincidentally, Dia, the previous director, also was a big music person. And they created a couple of tracks. They never got implemented, but they were pretty good. I think, depending how things go, I might ask if he'd be okay with us using one of the tracks, because there's one specific one that I really, really loved. So maybe we'll see that in the next one. And then some of the artists. The artist was like the hardest people to find, especially the backgrounds, because for some reason there was hardly anybody like doing background work, at least around this time. So it took a couple of months before we found anybody, and I think the first one and the only one that we found, we found a couple of background artists, but the main person that we found was why am I forgetting his name? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Wait. Euphony, yeah. He changed his username a couple times, so I forget. But Euphony did the backgrounds, and he's still doing backgrounds for us. So this is the current staff list.
The comment from Hooves right away that artists are going to be the tricky part.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it took a couple of months before we found like artists. I think we had a couple of sprite artists at first, and then they eventually left as well. Dizzy, she goes by Sora now. She was around like not from the very beginning, but near the beginning, so a couple of months after this. And the same thing with Elphase. She does the male sprites for the project. She joined almost around the same time as Dizzy did, I think. And then like the writers, they're like completely different people, except for like Dan, and then Dia eventually comes in right here. So they're the two main ones, Dan and Dia, because they're pretty much organizing all this stuff. The writers, so here's the thing I wanted to bring up, because I've seen a couple of comments that were a couple of concerns that were pretty much like people were afraid that the next part was not going to be not as good, but like take a completely different direction just based off of like the different writers. But people need to understand that all these people contributed to the project in some way that it's kind of hard to like pinpoint where their contributions end, because like I'm pretty sure I think he did Natsuki's character a lot and Akira as well. And then later on we had a couple of writers for the other heroines. And I'm pretty sure Dia was originally supposed to be for Ari. He was gonna do Ari's route, but he eventually said that his English wasn't his strong suit because he was like French, and so he thought it would be better for someone else to take care of that. But the story, it was created like by a ton of different people. It wasn't until I joined, and then later Sarah joined, and then she used to be one of the writers as well. And later Luna Chai was a big one because she did most of the writing in Inciting Incident. And so when Inciting Incident was released, it was mostly Luna Chai and Dia who did like a majority of the story, but it was based off a lot of the writing and characterization and story development that these people did. And while it might not have followed it to the letter, because a lot of like revisions were made, it still like followed the ending and the beginning and the middle parts. So from the very beginning, they pretty much came up with the ending. And so we're trying to like, it's a lot about like execution. So what else am I gonna bring up? So hopefully that clears that up a little bit, because I know people were afraid that because Luna Chai wasn't on the team anymore, that their story would go in a whole different direction, but it was planned from the beginning. And while it might be a little different from what the initial vision was, it's still following like a rough outline of what these original people set out to do, you know. I think, have we ever shown you, without spoiling anything, have we ever shown you the original like scripts, Hudson? Have you ever came across
like the
them before?
original ones? I don't know if I've seen them that far back.
Yeah, it's probably, I think if you like go on our Google Drive and you look through like the revisions, like there's like an option that lets you see the different versions of the script, and you can go all the way to the beginning.
Yeah. If it's all in the same files, I might have looked back through some of those, but probably not all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah, so I think when Luna Chai joined, it was when we were pretty much done with day 5, and day 5 was like, in the visual novel, was when the characters were going to that Lemniscate thing,
like the amusement park.
Right, yeah. So it was then around that time that she joined, and then after that a lot of the writing was hers, but like the beginning was like a mix mash of I think Hooves did a couple of scenes in that one, and then Dan did as well. But it was like a free for all from like day 1 to day 5. And
was day 4 originally day 1?
Day 4?
Or was it just the first one that was written? I feel like I saw something that hinted at that, but I don't know if that's accurate or not.
I don't think so. I think the very first scene was the one in the forest. So that was the first one, and then it kind of... Actually, I'm trying to remember. Because I think the forest scene was actually implemented after that. The thing about the script, though, was like, from the beginning, we had like 5 or 6 writers, and 4 of them were in charge of the heroines, and then like 2 of them, one of them was a main writer, and then the other one was like an assistant. And they were pretty much tasked with like their own characters. So anybody who was in charge of like Akira did all Akira scenes, and any character that interacted with her, and the same thing with the other ones. And the lead writer pretty much was tasked to like make sure the writing style was pretty much consistent throughout. But with that many people working all at the same time, like on the same script, it was like, it wasn't pretty, to be frank. So I'm trying to remember. I think a majority of the writing from day 1 to day 5 was done by Kimono. I think he was the lead one, but then eventually he dropped out and he became a PR person. And then after that, he sort of like, I think he's still on the team, but he doesn't like touch into development that much. But after that, I'm trying to remember what else, the important parts of the beginning of the script. So yeah, day 1 and day 5 was pretty hectic, and then Luna Chai came, and she had like a lot of free time on her hands, plus she had experience with writing, and so she really brought a lot of cohesiveness to a lot of the writing that these people, the outline they did. And so it took about 2 years of development for the scripts to be done. And you can actually see all the progress we made on our website. If you go to the blog and you go like to the beginning of the date, let me see if I can find it here. Google Lucid9 Weebly. Here we go. So if you go to the blog, and then you go to the archives, and you go to March 14th. So these are like the beginnings of the development. So if you're interested in like reading all this, you can check it out on our site. So this is like the original, like when everything was said and done on the forums, this were the people that decided to stick around for a little bit. And then the one in charge of the blog, I believe, was... Who was it? I think it was... Oh god, I haven't seen these names in a long time. I don't think it was Who's. I think it was somebody else. Cleric. I think it was Cleric who did the blogs here. Yeah, the first posts were pretty funny. This is when we were like... I don't want to say like unprofessional, but like just like writing whatever the hell we wanted. Before, our group name was actually 4chan. I mean VNChan. And then I don't remember why they decided to change that. Yeah, we also had a demo on the Weebly blog. That was like the first day. We had it on the website for a while. And it had an old background artist, but the writers, I think it was Luna Chai, I think she joined when we made that demo and posted it on the blog. Wow, 28 comments, what the heck? I don't remember this. What is this? Oh, I think it's spam. Never mind. Alright. It's a little confusing, like, wait a minute, I don't remember these many comments.
I like how they all chose that particular post for some reason.
Yeah. So this is the first draft of Akira. This was done by Dizzy. It was really cute. So usually, every time I ask the team members like what brought them onto the team, they always say that they loved the art style. This is what brought me onto when I saw this post of Akira. I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. I want to join. And so, I think Dia made a post on Lemmasoft. I was going to say Lemniscate, that doesn't exist. He made a post on Lemmasoft, and I decided to put in an application. That was when I was in high school, and I was about to go to college for like writing. And I gave him a couple of my scripts for like testing. And then he's like, yeah, it's pretty good. And then I just joined. Alternative universe where Lucid9 was everything okay? I don't think there is a universe like that. Everything Lucid9 is just pain. From the very beginning, like... From the very beginning, the end of Inciting Incident was, like, planned. That's another, like, concern I see from a lot of people. And it's understandable, you know, considering how it ended on a cliffhanger. I don't recall who made that decision to, like, end it on that. Looking back, hindsight is 2020. I honestly think that we could have, like, ended it on a different point. Because I think the initial idea was that we were going to finish the whole visual novel fairly quickly. And so they thought, you know, might as well make a cliffhanger and then get people hooked on it, and then they'll decide to read the upcoming routes. And that kind of like backfired on us because, you know, people decided to join and drop out, and then it took a couple years. So it's understandable why people found an issue with that ending. But if I had the chance to go back and like end it at a different point, then I probably would. I'm just gonna read a couple comments here. In the grim darkness of the near past, there are only dead waifus and eternity of copium. Yes, that's correct. But the thing is also, it was never our intention to be like, how do I phrase this? Like, cruel for no reason. Because Hudson, you know, like, how the story goes, like, there's a reason why Inciting Incident ended the way it did. And people are gonna see that when the routes come up. And the issue, some people think that is like, it happened so sudden without any warning, and it doesn't fit with the story. But I think people need to remember that it's just the first part of the story, and a lot of the information involving around that is gonna come out when the routes come out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's why, like, I know some people have been sort of calling it a sequel, but like, I'm a little wary of that because realistically, it's all one story and always has been. It's just that we haven't been able to get all the way through it yet, and so that's why it is state where it is.
Right? Yeah. People assume that how it ended was like just how it ends. There's a couple of Steam comments I was going through because occasionally I go through that, and some people, based on their writing, they think that Inciting Incident was like one product, and how it ended is like the finality. That's just how the whole story ends. And I think we could probably do a better job of like, I'm pretty sure it's on the Steam page that it's not the end, it's like the first part of the whole story. But I think we could probably make that clearer for people. Yeah, it hurt your soul? Yeah. Even me, like when Dia told me, because it wasn't my intention, like when I joined, how Inciting Incident ended, Dia had planned that, and Dan had planned that, and the previous writers had planned that from the beginning. Like, I didn't have anything to do with that. That was all them. But I thought it was a pretty cool idea, and based on the whole story that they shared with me, it made sense. Who even reads Steam descriptions? Yeah. Some people just look at the art and are like, "Oh, this is really cool. I'm gonna play this." Oh, funny. Now that you say that, there's a couple of Steam comments that I read, and there's one of them that was like, I can't move my character. How come I can't use the WASD keys? And they don't realize it's a visual novel. It's not a 3D platform game. I don't think a lot of people use Steam for visual novels. I think it's different today, but back then it wasn't very common. At least not until like Doki Doki came out. Then people kind of like lost their minds and are like, "Oh, this is really good." Hello. But maybe it was said in the credits. Yeah, if you play through the whole thing, it was in the credits, but At the very end, I believe it was like after you read the credits, and usually I don't think people sit through the whole thing. I know a couple of
Yeah.
people that like did some playthroughs, didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the part with the showdown with Ryota, like I would guess that a lot of people think that's the ending, and then like
Yeah.
it's close enough to other people's comments saying like, "Oh, the ending's bad," that they don't realize that it's not. Which also probably is something that could be adjusted, but
Right.
I mean, because that's so close to the ending, sort of, but then it also very definitely isn't.
Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of issues, like major issues that I've come across over the years that about inciting incident, and a lot of them they're like easily fixable. Cause the other issue that I come across often is that, especially on day 5, is that we present too many choices, and then they have to read through all this dialogue and scenes that aren't like really important. Yeah, there are some like foreshadowing in some places, but like the overall grand scheme of things, it could definitely be shortened down. And the easiest way to do that is like through the programming, because if you just like give the readers a couple of choices instead of like 5 different ones or 6 different ones, it'd probably make it easier for people to get through. And then the other one was the choices during the investigation scene where Shiguri tasks Yama to like do these tests to see if he was like smart enough, and I'm not sure why they did it, because like even then, like from the beginning, I didn't understand why it was necessary to put like an input. So you literally had to put the answer.
Like the one that's like switch horses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure, even though I knew that riddle, like it took me a couple tries to figure out what words it wanted there.
Yeah, even me, like, I was like, wait a minute, how exactly are you supposed to do this? And I had to check in with Dia and the programmer with that. So I think that could also be fixed, like, whenever we release the next part and we do like a quality update for inciting incident, they could easily be fixed.
Yeah, like I think both of those things actually I already have fixes in for.
Nice, yeah. So
the amusement park is tricky because there are a few of those that are actually plot relevant. So I think what I was looking at is that you have to have at least done those two, but then you can skip the rest.
Yeah, I think we have to like go through the scenes, like give them a real quick skim through to see which one's the most important, and then kind of like base it off of that, and then just like the other ones are like optional. I'm trying to remember if there's any other issues people had, but it was mostly those two, and then the ending, and then the fact that, you know, the team isn't exactly the same anymore. But like from the very beginning, it was like a mix of like different people's idea of like how characterization, story relevance should like progress. So it's kind of hard to say like, yeah, this person did literally everything in the visual novel, because that's not really true. It's like it was made by the community. If I had to liken it to a different visual novel, I would say it's kind of like Katawa Shoujo in a way, because that started on a forum too, 4chan, and people kind of like jumped on that as well. I'm gonna read the comment really quick. I'm hoping there's not a huge staff turnover if the Kickstarter campaign doesn't reach its goal. I know Lucid9 was created as a passion project, but I don't want FSS to get Dano snapped because I'm poor. Well, the main question is, oh, why is that hard in a way? Will there be a chance for Lucid9 to be finished? Yeah, so the last time I talked with everybody, like many of the members, they are like interested in finishing it. I know Hudson, you told me when I talked to you about it that you're like pretty set on finishing the story route. And there are a couple of people that haven't been very communicative so I'll have to check in with him again. But I wouldn't say there would be a huge turnover. And to be honest, I also wanted to bring this up as well. The current organization of the team right now, after the Kickstarter, if we don't succeed, it has to change, because with the way it used to progress, it was extremely slow. And the main reason for that is because a lot of responsibility falls on one role, and that's the director. And if the director doesn't do the job, or like they're overwhelmed with like a lot of stuff they have to take care of, and they might not have time to like check in with a specific writer or artist or editor, because they pretty much are tasked to do everything when it comes to like making sure organization and progress is being made. The fact that it falls on one role kind of is a hindrance. And so I feel like if we bring in more people, like how it was, not exactly like how it was from the beginning, but like if we have like somebody in charge of like plot supervision, or like an assistant director, or someone who can handle like social media posts and or organization or things like that, it would be a big help, and it would like make sure things would progress at a quicker pace compared to how it was before. And it kind of eventually went down that way when Dia was around, because I remember Dia used to always tell me that it was really difficult being in his position, because sometimes you would have to check in with people, and sometimes they might not get back to you, and you have to like pause development on one part of the story to make sure that the writer gets something done. And it did change when he left how I organize things, but it's still kind of like fallen on one role, and I think that's not a good thing. I think we have to change the way we do that. So my idea after the campaign was, if it doesn't succeed, is to make sure everybody that is on the team right now is on board. I did that before the Kickstarter started, but I just want to make sure again. And then after that, I'm gonna post like a recruitment thing, and I'm gonna make sure I put that everywhere, like on Steam, YouTube, or website, Twitter, stuff like that, so people can see it. And pretty much asking for like help for like plot development or characterization or organization, assistant director, stuff like that. So if you or someone you know is interested in, filling these positions, you can apply here on the website. You can do it right now if you want. But we probably won't do like the post until after the Kickstarter, so I'd probably wait until then. Is there anything you want to add, Hudson, right now?
Sure, yeah. I mean, that's sort of how I've been looking at it as well in general, in that if the Kickstarter succeeds, then it basically will give us, really clear, well-defined timelines and, all that nice stuff. But if it doesn't, then really it just means that either we'll probably need more time, or we'll need more people, or some combination of those things. So I think that, fundamentally, it shouldn't change too much. It's just that it would be obviously great if we get that, and obviously the stretch goals would be even better. But like mostly that just establishes things more clearly as, exactly what the plan would be. Whereas otherwise there would have to be, maybe a more flexible plan, or maybe a plan that, has things more gradual or has a slightly different organization to it.
Yeah. So people might be worried that if we bring in more people, their writing might be disconjointed. But on the flip side, if you have more people who are helping with the story, you have more eyes and you have more quality checks. It's never like it's there's a pros and cons to everything, and there's always a balance for this kind of stuff. And we're very well aware of that. Having too many people work on it is obviously going to make things. It might make things difficult, but I wouldn't say that would be the case this time. Maybe from the beginning, when you're trying to make everything, and you have like all these people working on it. From the beginning, they had to like craft everything from scratch, and they didn't exactly know what direction to take because they're starting from the beginning. But right now, we have an outline, we have character progressions, we have a pretty good idea where we want to take the story. And if we did bring in more people, it's not like they're going to take the story in a totally different direction. They might have like a different idea of how to execute that, but they essentially have to follow the outline that was already established. And again, it's a balancing act. You have to follow the outline while, making things, putting a twist, your own twist on it. And I'm sure you've had not so much issues with that, but like you've had experience with that with the script so far, right, Hudson?
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to say as well, right, that when I was originally acting as editor, then I was definitely doing some of those things, right, as far as, taking in all of the additional, canon that's hidden, and then evaluating, does all of this meet with this, do the new scenes conflict with each other, right, so I think that's definitely something that's valuable to have. Obviously, now that I'm writing it, I haven't been able to do some of that as directly, but I think that, that's definitely something that, like, we would want to have someone sort of specifically dedicated to that sort of consistency, both with what is already known in the inciting incident canon, what is already established in the internal canon, and then what is being established within the new routes.
Right. And, so after Inciting Incident was released, Lunachai spent about 2 years after that with us, because she was initially supposed to write Akira's route. She wasn't going to write like the heroine route. She was supposed to do one specific person, and then Sarah was in charge of Ari, and then I was supposed to be in charge of Misaki, and then Akira was another player, and he joined the team a little after Inciting Incident was released, I think. But he was in charge. There were like different people in charge of the other routes. So it was always like from the beginning planned for different writers to take charge of different character routes, because even considering how much it's grown to its current state, even then, like, this story was pretty big. So it was really hard to see one person do everything. Right now, I estimate each route to be around Inciting Incident like 10 hours. And that's pretty hefty. Like, if you take the whole story into account, so that's like 40 hours around there. And that's like, I don't know, medium length, long length, and like if you look on VM Visual Novel Database, the length. So that's pretty hefty, especially for like a free project right now. So it was never planned for one person to take charge of everything, because it's just not possible. Yeah, the length is incredibly tasty. It's kind of crazy how long it's ballooned into. One specific route, I think that's Ari's route. That kind of ballooned like way more than I ever anticipated, because the writer for that, DJ, he's a madman. Like, he does another visual novel on the side as well, and he writes, I think last time he said he wrote 1 million words for that game he did, and I was like, that's crazy. And then he told me the time length that he did it in, and I'm like, yeah, you're like drinking coffee. You have coffee injected into your veins or something, because like that's crazy. So you can see the current staff here. So this is us. And if you click on the names, you can also get like our websites and stuff. So we have the writing team here. We have the editing team, artwork, music, programming, voice acting. And some people say that the Kickstarter might be a little too ambitious, and I totally agree. But you also have to like consider this many people are working on it. And then the voice acting, we have that as like a stretch goal, because if we put this in the initial goal, there is no way we're ever going to meet that, because it's basically like funding another game essentially. And so this many people working on it kind of like explains why the funding goal is what it is right now. And I kind of hope like if we do meet the funding goal, I hope we do meet the voice acting goal. And if we don't meet the voice acting goal, it's not like we're gonna drop it. So what we're gonna do, if we meet the funding goal for the Kickstarter, we'll finish the game, we'll send out all the backer rewards, and then we'll release it. And then, you know, people take notice of the game because, you know, it's done. And then we start working on the voice acting, and we'll probably make another Kickstarter for the voice acting. We'll probably get a lot more support for that Kickstarter because of the game is complete now. It gives people more reason to like back that. So that's our plan for that. But if Kickstarter doesn't go through, our main focus, at least my main focus right now, is to make sure voice acting gets done. So I'm going to work with Patrick and Melina and Jacob to make sure it gets, for Inciting Incident, it's finished in a quicker pace, because they definitely could use more help, because there's a lot more actors than just this main cast right here. So I'm going to give them a hand with that. And then I'm also going to put out that recruitment thing, and we'll essentially just wait for a while to see who's interested in helping us. And depending on who decides to help us, we'll like organize and restructure everything, and then we'll start assigning, like, have progress continue again. And to be honest, like, if you look through the previous blog post here somewhere, I don't remember what date it was, but we made a progress report that was pretty detailed, and essentially 2 of the routes were almost done, and that's Ari's route and that's Elizabeth's route. And then the other one, Misaki and Akira, they're a little less than half, but I think considering how the story's already like established, I think it'll probably go fairly quickly, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think if there's something else I wanted to bring up. Is there anything you want to touch on, Hudson?
Have we mentioned anything about the true route yet?
Yeah, the true route. I don't want to give too much information about that, but it's gonna be fairly shorter than the heroine routes. So I'd say around like 5 hours, maybe a little bit more, but it's gonna be fairly short. And the structure is gonna be somewhat different, but that's all I can reveal at the moment. So yeah. And then I'll have to have the meeting with the writers again, because we need to decide whether we want to release the routes one at a time like we had said before, or if we just want to get everything done all at once. I think they both have like pros and cons, so it's really up to like how many people we can bring on board. Because if we have like fairly skilled people who are willing to help us, I think we'll probably be able to really release everything all at once. But if not, we'll probably have to take a slower pace with that.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, I think it still could be helpful to have it focus on one route at a time, because then, regardless of how many more people, then we'll be able to focus on one area at a time. And so I think it wouldn't necessarily take all that much longer that way, and that way things could start getting out to the people who want to read them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing too,
But yeah,
because like
we'll have to figure it out.
yeah,
One way or another.
because if it's one at a time, we have more of a chance to like make sure it's polished enough for release. Because if it's like if we take our time with it and release everything all at once, then I'm not saying that it would like be less polished, but you know, there's more of a chance to miss some things like during the editing phase. But if it's just like one route and we focus all our energy and time on that, then it's going to be fairly like clean, I'd say. If you have any questions, chat, just let me know and I'll answer them as well. The Kickstarter, I want to briefly touch on why it took so long. And I wrote this in one of the old blog posts as well. But initially, I asked Sakai Project if they would be alright, like, with, if there I can't talk right now. If there'd be any issues with us, like, releasing the Kickstarter. They're like, nah, it's all good. Go ahead and do it. And so I went with that idea that we'd be able to have their promotion and helping us with that. And then eventually, I really don't have that much experience with Kickstarter, so I asked them if they can give me any, like, assistance with that, or if they knew anybody who would be willing to help. And then, I don't know, just out of the blue, they're like, well, we haven't offered you any, like, help aside from that. Perhaps it's better to, like, go our separate ways. Because usually, essentially, we're not really giving them much content to work with anyway, I guess. So it's understandable why they would, like, want to do that. But considering that had, you know, kind of relied on their promotion, I kind of like had to revise everything around promotion and had to make sure that everything was up to date on our blog, and then make sure I brought to life all those other social media accounts that we rarely use, like Reddit, to make sure the promotion was out there, because we couldn't really rely on, like, Sakai Project to help us out there again. So pretty much I had to revise how the campaign was gonna go, and that took a couple months. And then I figured also that we should have a trailer for the voice acting and for the story here. And it was unbelievably difficult to find an editor for some reason. I went through like 5 different people, and they either didn't have time, or it wasn't in their budget, or something like that. And then eventually I did find somebody, and Vicky helped out a lot with that, and she's gonna help with the voice acting trailer when we get to it soon. So that also took a little bit of time as well. And then the rewards also took a little of planning. And I think the rewards was probably the difficult part, the hardest part. But it took a while. I'd say when we announced it was in like 2021. So it's like 2 years of planning and just waiting for people to get back to me. So, you know, regardless of how the Kickstarter goes, if we don't happen to reach the goal, at the very least, we'd be able to get back to like making progress on the VN again. And there are a lot of tools that came out recently too that I'm really excited to try out, and I have to talk to the writers about that. And I think it'd make development a lot easier for us. And we'll have to see around how it goes. But I think that's it. There's a lot of stuff that I'm missing from like the history of FSS But essentially, going back to March, there's like a whole different team. And then Lunachai, when Lunachai joined, it was basically like the shift of where the story went. And then Inciting Incident was released. And then a couple of writers dropped out, but we also brought on a couple of different writers. And then the Kickstarter, and we'll just see where it goes from here. But if you want to know the nitty-gritty details, you can always look through the blog here. It's pretty interesting to read. I should probably go through it again, just for the nostalgic feel. We also did a podcast here way back when. I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. Is there anything else you want to add about writing, route development?
No, I think we mostly covered it.
Will Phil the plant return? Is he going to return in your route?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll have to think on that.
He's a very important character. We can't drop the ball there. And
Fate has not yet been revealed.
Yeah, I have an idea of how to implement them. That'd be really interesting. There's a different character too that shows up occasionally. That's gonna play a pretty big importance. I don't know if you guys have seen the cat in the backgrounds. Let me see if I can find it. Let me just switch this really quick. Lucid9. If I go here, it might be here. There's a couple of what do you call those? Easter eggs, if you look in the backgrounds. I'm sure everybody's seen the Dia Stinks. It's here somewhere. I'll have to post it on social media later. But there's a cat in the background. And he shows up, or she shows up, I can't remember the gender, quite a lot of times. And they're gonna show up again in the routes. So there's a sneak peek there. Yeah, thanks for your support, guys. Yeah, we're gonna try our best to make sure the Kickstarter is successful. Again, if it's not, we're gonna try our best to make sure the game gets done. So I'm gonna try to plan another live stream. I'm probably gonna have my webcam on then, because for some reason my computer wasn't working, like the USB ports, so I had to like put this image of Ari instead. So we're gonna have a discussion with some of the composers, so Jan, and I'll see who else is interested in joining us. And then next month we're gonna have some of the artists to answer some questions about the art as well. Hudson, if you want to join then as well, you're more than free to as well.
Sure. Yeah. See if I can.
Let me see. So, any last questions before the stream concludes?
Actually, I have a question. It's just because I don't think this has been officially stated anywhere. For any of the merch that is among the Kickstarter rewards, will there be another opportunity to get that merch? Either outside the Kickstarter if it succeeds, or if the Kickstarter doesn't succeed?
I'll have to ask the artists about that, because like a lot of the merch...
Yeah, that might be more a future question for the arts.
Yeah. But I know for sure that like Lunachai did a poster for Lucid9 one time, but I don't know if she's still doing arts for that. But it's not like out of the question for the artists. If they want to like sell Lucid9 merch, then they're definitely more than welcome to do so. Because I definitely would want another Lucid9 poster to put somewhere around my house.
Yeah, like the t-shirt and coffee mug.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, get those.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions about like if the Kickstarter doesn't succeed, if we're willing to have like donations. But that's gonna be kind of tough because, like I said before, a lot of people worked on it, and if we accept donations from people, well, the people who left didn't, and they did like a significant amount of work, like Lunachai did. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right that they're not getting compensated in some way. That's why I asked her too about the Kickstarter, and she was fine with the Kickstarter because we're doing like a different thing with it, and we're compensating people who are working on it right now. But when it comes to like if it's free and we're accepting donations, it's kind of like harder to track where the money is going. And it just, I don't know, it doesn't feel right, and it's kind of more difficult for people to really understand where that's going. And it's really easy for people to misconstrue that and say, well, how come they're getting money from this game that Lunachai did? So I'd rather avoid all that. But we really do appreciate that, and the best way to support us, even if you can give money for the Kickstarter or whatever, it's totally fine. And I really advise, if you're not financially stable, please don't like feel like you need to like give to the Kickstarter, because we're gonna work on it regardless, and we'd rather have you not die of hunger or something. Just save that money for yourself. But the best way,
and I know
to,
that
like,
some people,
yeah,
I know that some people have been like finding everywhere possible to try to spread the word, and that is fantastic and much appreciated. So,
yeah,
like, if you can't support directly, then that's great as well.
yeah, we really appreciate that. If you can just spread the word about it, without being overbearing, because there's some places that don't allow promotion for that kind of stuff. But when the places that do allow it, we appreciate that. And that's the best thing you can do. If you want to support us, just spread the word. And yeah, I think this should be all for today. Thank you all for joining the stream. I'll try to make sure that it's a little bit more cohesive the next time. I kind of had to jump on at the last minute because something got in the way. But if you want to know more about the writing or the music, and then we'll do one last stream before the Kickstarter concludes, just to go over the project again. And hopefully I get more people on that for next time. Feel free to join us. We'll make a couple of announcements on our social media channels to make sure that everybody knows about it. Thank you for joining me, Hudson. And you've always been a big help when it comes to like development, so I really appreciate your help.
Yeah, thank you.
And there's one last thing I wanted to bring up, but I can't remember. Oh, well, I think that's it. All right. Until next time, thank you all. See ya.
See ya.